Hey guys, it's Ms. Starka. I just was here wanting to practice with Mrs. Klingsick here how the peer editing process works. So peer editing is effectively where you work with someone a classmate, whoever, who would look at a piece of your writing and say what is working and what is not working in that piece of writing. So I have here the introduction that I wrote for my introductions video where I wrote my example. And the example here is that I'm writing about something that is different because of COVID-19 and changes in my life because of it. So I have here my example with my hook, my lead, my thesis here, and we're going to talk about a simple method called the compliment sandwich, whereby you can say what works and doesn't work in a piece of writing. So again, my example here is lip reading is about 30% accurate. This was 30% of help that I needed. I would just have to make do. I took a deep breath and walked into the cafe. I tried my best to be vigilant and catch everything going on around me. I looked over at the barista, assaulted by the smell of coffee and the din of people around me. The COVID-19 pandemic has made me more aware of my hearing loss. So, this is what I have in my introduction, and we're going to kind of model what should be going on in your head as you look at someone else's piece of writing.
Okay, so hey, it's Miss Klingsick here, Miss K, and we're practicing social distancing here, so we're kind of stepping in each other's space and out to be safe too. So if I am peer editing for Miss Starka, I'm going to use that procedure called the compliment sandwich, like she said. I'm going to kind of draw a sandwich here, I guess. Forgive my terrible artistic work here, because as a former high school art teacher it should be better than this, but we're just going to pretend that this is much better than it is. So in this picture we have a little sandwich here, and we have 2 slices of bread, one on each side, and we have something, call it whatever you want, in the middle here. So on each end we're going to have a compliment, or we'll call that positive feedback, same thing, right? So we're going to give each other a compliment, positive feedback, and we're going to sandwich that around our constructive feedback in the center. Constructive does not mean that we are bagging on anyone or anything like that. It just means that there's something that they could improve upon. So anytime you're giving feedback, you want to first ask yourself, is this helpful or is it hurtful? And if the answer is hurtful, you should probably keep that to yourself. But a positive feedback compliment is helpful, but also constructive feedback is helpful, because your intent behind that is to help whatever it is that you are giving feedback on to become better. So here's my example. First, know that in this assignment, Ms. Mastarka and I will put a discussion board entry out there for you, and we will ask you, she's going to provide a video that shows you how to do a shareable link, and so you will be providing a shareable link of your document that is going to be edited by a peer, and then your peers will be doing this process that we have going here, and then making comments. So if I'm reading this, I'm saying lip reading is about 30% accurate. Okay, yeah, so she gave me a quote, right? So a quote is effective in a hook, right? Okay, so I'm checking that off. Of course, this is not on paper, so I'm not able to write it up like this, but I might actually pull out a piece of scratch paper so that I have my thoughts together before I put my discussion response on there after reading hers. So this was 30% of help that I needed. I would just have to make do. I took a deep breath and walked into the cafe. I tried my best to be vigilant and catch everything going on around me. I looked over at the barista, assaulted by the smell of coffee and the din of people around me. The COVID-19 pandemic has made me more aware of my hearing loss. Okay, so when I look here, I'm like, oh, I get it. She has hearing loss. That's probably what the big idea is going to be throughout this entire piece of work. But as I'm reading along in here, I look back and I see, I would just have to make do. I took a deep breath and walked into the cafe. I tried my best to be vigilant and catch everything going on around me. Maybe, and I think, let me tell you, Miss Masarka is a great writer. So I'm coming up with something in here because it's my job to find something that she might be able to make better as a good peer editor, right? Not to be critical, but to help her make something better. So in this area where she's setting up the setting for me, I might say, what kind of rich, detail, descriptive words could you possibly add here? So she said, I took a deep breath and walked into the cafe. Let's see. I could say something like, as my stomach churned, comma, I took a deep breath and walked into the cafe. I tried my best to be vigilant and catch everything going on around me. I looked over at the barista, assaulted by the smell of, I could add some descriptive details like fresh, rich coffee, and the din of people bustling around me. Something like that. So I'm adding some descriptive words there, right? The COVID-19 pandemic has made me more aware of my hearing loss. So I'm not being overly critical of her. I'm saying, okay, maybe she could add a few more descriptive words that might make it a little more catchy. So after I've done this process, I would go into the discussion, and I would put those comments in the discussion board so that she would be able to read them. So it seems like a pretty simple task, right? But the purpose of this video is to help you to understand what this compliment sandwich is meant for. It's for constructive feedback. You're reinforcing someone's good work. You're giving them a suggestion for how they may improve it, and then reinforcing it again. So that's the process we want you to follow. And this is what you'll be doing as part of your revision and editing process. Hope that was clear.
All right, and I'm back here just to kind of show that last little step here. So I wrote my introduction here. Mrs. Klingsig, Miss K came in here. She gave me some suggestions, right? But how do we take these suggestions and make them into our actual compliment sandwich, right? So you need to have that final step of how do I take this, all of these ideas that I have scratched out on my piece of paper, and make them into the actual sandwich. So, because eventually you're going to want to take all of this and distill it down into 3 sentences or so, right? So you would take these ideas. So she mentioned that she liked my hook. She liked the statistics quote, using other people's ideas and quoting them properly, citing them properly, to bring in the attention of my reader. So we start with that compliment. We start with that positive feedback. So we would start with something like, I liked how effective your hook was, right? So that's that first piece of the sandwich, right? That's that structure, that bread that holds everything together. I like how effective your hook was. And then we come into the constructive feedback. We bring in, that meat, that peanut butter, that whatever that substance is of your actual piece. So, and looking at what she has here, it's maybe I need more imagery, right? I need more descriptive details in my introduction. I think you could use more imagery. And if you wanted to be a really good peer editor, you might mention some of those phrases that she brought in here. Maybe, and put those suggestions in there. But you at least would need to say something like, I think you could use more imagery, and then you bring in that last piece, right? I liked how effective your hook was. I think you could use more imagery, but I feel like you still set the scene really well. Something like that, right? That you still established your setting really clearly. So there's that kind of third piece, that third piece to the sandwich, that third piece of feedback that's going to help me make my story better. Know what to keep, know what to lose, right? And again, this is nothing really fancy, guys. And again, this is just kind of the peer editing 101 version. This is the most basic level of what you could do. So you read someone else's writing, you jot down your ideas. You come up with 2 compliments, 2 pieces of positive feedback about what they need to keep, what they're already doing well. And that third piece where you show what needs improvement. And then you kind of distill that down like a funnel into one little comment that you can do. Again, we're going to be doing ours in a discussion post. You're going to be able to use the link to go in and read someone else's story, come up with those ideas, and eventually you're going to leave feedback like this for 2 of your classmates. Otherwise, I think we've got everything we need here, guys.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
So if you have any questions, let us know. But hopefully this kind of clarifies what you need to be doing and explains how the compliment sandwich works. Have an awesome day.